And just to walk through for folks what we expect to do today, we're going to have nonpartisan staff walk through our bills, take public testimony, and then have a little bit of member discussion. And for starters, I thought maybe for the members that are present, we just do a quick round of introductions, just so I guess we all know each other here, but to just announce publicly who the conferees here are, the conference committee before we get going. I'm Representative Mike Howard, and I'm co-chairing the Housing Committee in the House. Pass to Senator Port.
Good morning, everyone. I am Senator Lindsay Port. I chair the Housing Committee in the Senate.
Good morning, everybody. Leish Kozlowski here, and I have the pleasure of serving as Vice Chair of Housing in the House.
Morning, everyone. Spencer Igo, co-chair of Housing in the House with my friend Mike Howard.
Good morning. I'm Liz Bolden. I represent District 25, which is Rochester area, and I am the Vice Chair of the Housing Committee in the Senate.
And we do have two conferees that are on virtually.
Eric Lucero, Senator and the Minority Lead on the Senate Housing Committee.
Good morning, everyone. State Representative Jim Nash here in District 48A. That's
our crew, and I'll note that we have a quorum present. Next on our agenda, we're going to have nonpartisan staff walk through the bills, both the House and Senate bill, and so I'm going to turn it over to Justin Cope.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Justin Cope, House Research. I'm going to be working from the side-by-side which you all have in your packets, and I'm going to start on page R6, since pages R1 to R5 are fiscal items that Ms. Highmark and Mr. Olafson will be covering. On R6, on the House side, section 1, this section will be imposing a limit on the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency's retention from state appropriations for administrative costs. This would be limiting their ability to retain any portion of state appropriations to situations in which their income from investing state appropriations was insufficient to cover their administrative costs, and would limit the amount they could take to the amount by which their administrative costs exceed their investment income. Prior to retaining a portion of a state appropriation, they would have to notify the chairs and ranking minority members of the legislative housing committees. Turning to page R7, the House and Senate are modifying the same section of law on the top here, but in different ways. The House side strikes language requiring that the agency periodically distribute its investment income to programs, and instead redirects it to annually distributing earnings as the matter provided in a section that appears later in the House bill. And separately, the House language limits the agency's ability to transfer balances between appropriated accounts pursuant to this section, and requires a notice to the chairs before any transfers are made. The Senate's modifications of this section instead specify that the agency's putting appropriations into bookkeeping counts in the Housing Development Fund and aggregating investment income from investing appropriations made to the agency should only occur when those appropriations are made for the purposes of the Housing Development Fund. Moving to the bottom of R7 and running into page R9, the House and Senate both modify an agency operating cost report. Both the House and Senate require that the agent separately report on the operating costs that are specifically attributable to the cost of operating programs receiving state appropriations. The Senate also updates the language regarding the legislative committees to match up with the current legislative committees in both bodies, and requires reporting on full-time equivalent positions for each of these programs. Moving to page R8, the House also requires that the agency annually report on several balances within the Housing Development Fund and a range of activities that the agency is allowed to take with respect to funds that are in the Housing Development Fund. On the bottom of page R8 is a House-only provision that would require the agency to annually expend its investment income from investing state appropriations. At the end of each fiscal year, the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency would have to determine the amount of its investment income and then subtract from that amount the amount that it paid itself for administrative costs of operating state programs in that fiscal year. And then in the ensuing fiscal year, it would have to spend that money generally for the purposes for which those appropriations were made, but in some circumstances, it could use it for comparable programs instead. Turning to page R9, Section 5 on the House side and Section 21 on the Senate side are modifying the same section of law, which makes appropriations available to the agency until they're expended, and which also allows the agency to invest its invest its state appropriations and then to use those for the purposes of programs authorized under Chapter 462A. The Senate removes some obsolete language, and the House strikes the language entirely that allows it to invest its income and then appropriate it for the purposes of the same programs for which those appropriations were made. And the Senate instead just strikes the language allowing the agency to use its investment earnings for the purposes of programs authorized under the chapter, and instead puts in new language limiting agencies' use of those investment income only for the purposes of the administrative costs of the respective original appropriations. On the program money transfer section, Section 6, Section 22 on R9, both bodies require the agency to notify the chairs and ranking minority members of the legislative committees with jurisdiction over housing prior to making a transfer pursuant to that subdivision. But the Senate reporting requirement is required as a written report to be filed with the LRL that also requires notice regarding the amount of the transfer, the reason for the transfer, and the timing of the transfer. From the bottom of R9 running to R10 is a lived experience engagement exemption. This is language that would allow income paid by the agency to persons it's engaged for the purposes of consulting on agency proposals. It would exempt that income from means testing for the purposes of various means tested state benefits. On R10 running to R28, everything is Senate only language. So when I'm referring to section numbers, it's sections that only appear in the Senate side and only in the Senate bill. Section 1 and 2 running from R10 to R11 would modify the state housing tax credit to provide for a geographic set aside so that 50% of the credits in each taxable year would be set aside for the purposes of Greater Minnesota projects until September 30th of each year, at which point any unallocated credits would be available statewide. Running from R11 until R19 are a number of changes to the chapter governing manufactured home parks. Section 3 on R11 would lower the threshold required for a representative to act on behalf of manufactured home park residents from at least 51% of the home park residents to a bare majority, anything greater than 50%. Section 4 would limit late fees in manufactured home parks to no more than 8% of the delinquent rent payment. And it would separately require a receipt for cash payments. Section 5 would prohibit park owners from charging residents for costs of repairing or restoring utilities. Section 6 would require that park owners provide their residents itemized bills. Section 7 would require that park owners provide access to utility providers seeking to restore access to utilities for manufactured home park residents, and would allow residents to provide access to utility providers for those purposes. Section 8, running from R12 to R13, would modify the habitability covenant applying to manufactured home park residents to include an obligation that manufactured home park owners protect residents from the risks of hazardous trees or tree limbs. Turning to R13, Section 9 would require that manufactured home park owners provide residents with a notice as to the reason for any rent increases that it issues. And Section 10 would limit rental increases to once a year and would create a presumption that rental increases were unreasonable and unlawful if they exceeded 3% of the rent per month in the prior year. There would be opportunities for the park owner to prove that it was reasonable if it was necessary for the health and safety of the residents. But rent increases in resident-owned communities would be presumptively reasonable. On R13, this would require that there be digital payment platforms in manufactured home parks and would require park owners to provide alternative means of paying their rent. Turning to R14, Section 12 would require that manufactured home park owners provide their residents a 60-day notice prior to selling a manufactured home park. During that time, manufactured home park residents could make an offer to purchase the park. Turning to R19. Sections 13 and Section 13 would allow manufactured home parks time to remove the resident home from the lot in the case of a park sale. And Section 14 would provide courts the discretion to stay an eviction of a manufactured home park resident by up to 30 days from the time period in which the court issued a writ of recovery, but that would not apply in the case that it was an eviction on the basis that the resident had endangered the safety of other residents or was intentionally causing damage to the property of the park owner or of another resident. Section 15 provides additional remedies that a park owner would be liable for if the park owner violated any of the provisions in the manufactured home park chapter of law. Turning to page R20, Section 16 would require that board meetings of the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency be conducted by interactive technology and that those meetings be recorded and available to the public. On R20 running to R21, the Senate modifies language relating to the Housing Development Fund to provide that monies that are transferred to the agency for the purposes of the Housing Development Fund can be paid into the fund. And at the bottom of that section, it provides that if the legislature were to appropriate money to the agency not for the purposes of the Housing Development Fund, that those appropriations would be subject to the spending timelines provided in Chapter 16A, Section 28. Section 20 of R21 recodifies the agency's capacity building grant programs out of Section 21 and into a new proposed coding of this accommodates a later repeal of its placement within the Housing Development Fund section of law. And the bottom of R21 is a provision that would limit rental increases in properties that were financed by the low-income housing tax credit, so that in an income-restricted unit rented by a resident that was 65 years of age or older, the rent could not increase by an amount greater than the percentage increase in the Consumer Price Index for urban consumers. Turning to page R22, Section 26 would modify the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Program so that it would specify that housing projects funded under either the Workforce Housing Development Program or the Workforce and Affordable Homeownership Program would be eligible for a grant under that program. Section 27, running from R22 to R23, would modify the Minnesota Housing Tax Credit Contribution Grant and Loan Program so that programs receiving an award of the Greater Minnesota Housing Development Program would qualify for funding, notwithstanding the fact that those programs do not meet income limits applicable generally to the Housing Tax Credit Program. Section 29, running from R23 to R24, would modify allocation of private activity bonds to set an alternative maximum threshold that residential rental projects could be provided. This would conform state law to federal changes made in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act to match up the threshold that a project could receive with the current threshold for receiving low-income housing tax credits. Section 30 would modify a section of law that prohibits deeds, rental agreements, restrictive covenants, or a number of other contracts from, that currently prohibits those contracts from limiting property residents from flying various flags, to expand that list to include the prisoner of war MIA flag or the flag of any branch of the United States Armed Forces, or a Blue Star Service flag or a Gold Star Service flag. Section 31, running from page R24 to R26, would prohibit a private equity company as defined in the bill from directly or indirectly owning 100 or more single-family homes. Turning to R26, Section 32 modifies a prior appropriation for the capacity building grant program to line up with the recodification that the Senate is proposing. Section 33, running from R26 to R28, would establish a task force on housing taxes and fees, which would have the duties of analyzing the impact of state and local taxes and fees on housing costs, and to provide recommendations to the legislature next year. Turning to R28 is a repealer section from both the House and Senate. The House repeals only a subdivision of law that allows the agency to use money in the Housing Development Fund for any agency purposes provided under Chapter 462A. The Senate repeals the same section, but it also repeals the agency's ability to use money under the Housing Development Fund for capacity building grants, the rental assistance program for mentally ill persons, and the homeownership education, counseling, and training program. And then it also repeals a section of law requiring certain notice to manufactured home park residents prior to the sale of a manufactured home park. That section, as I understand it, is now redundant with the notice required under other changes to the manufactured home park statutes. And that concludes the policy walkthrough, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cope. Next, we'll go to Katrina Highmark to go through the fiscal provisions.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Katrina Highmark, House Fiscal. I'm going to be referring to a joint spreadsheet produced by Minnesota House Fiscal Analysis and Senate Council Research and Fiscal Analysis. We'll be starting on page 3. The spreadsheet was last updated on the 7th of May at 6:16 p.m. The change items on the spreadsheet for the House positions start on page 57 with a one-time appropriation to the Minnesota Workforce Housing Development Program of $20 million in fiscal 2027. The next change item is on line 59 with a one-time appropriation for the Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program of $40 million. Line 60 has a one-time appropriation for the creation of the Minnesota Nice Home Share Pilot Program. And that is a $150,000 appropriation in fiscal 2027. Line 62 contains a one-time appropriation for the Homebuyer Education, Counseling, and Training Program of $150,000 in fiscal 2027. The next House change item is on line 66, which is the debt service payment for the authorization of $100 million in housing infrastructure bonds. This has a cost of $2 million starting in fiscal '29. And this cost would increase to $5.6 million in fiscal 2030 and $8 million in fiscal '31, and ongoing for the life of the bonds, expected to be 20 years. Line 69 is a cancellation of unused tax forfeited settlement funds, which was appropriated in the 2024 tax bill. And these funds would be canceled early and deposited into the general fund in fiscal 2026. They're approximately $40 million. Line 70 is a transfer into the general fund from the Housing Development Fund from the earnings of legislative appropriation investments, and the total is $22.3 million to be deposited in fiscal 2026. The total change items for fiscal 26 and 27 net to a savings of $2 million and a cost of $2 million in fiscal 28 and 29 for a total net zero general fund impact across the budget window. And that, Mr. Chair, concludes the walkthrough of the House change items.
Next, we'll go to Mr. Olafson from the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, for the record, Eric Olafson, Senate Fiscal Analyst for the Housing Committee. I will just focus on the same spreadsheet as Ms. Highmark. I will just focus on the two right columns. That top of the columns are labeled Senate. So looking at line 64 for the Housing Taxes and Fees Task Force, while there is no appropriation in the Senate side, a fiscal note has been completed by the Legislative Coordinating Commission showing approximately a cost of $176,000. So I just wanted to put that on as a line item, that there is a fiscal impact of that policy. Moving on down to line 67 for the debt service for an authorization of $50 million of HIBs. Again, that would be a $1 million cost of debt service in FY29, and then $2.8 million estimated in FY2030, and $4 million ongoing beginning in FY31 for the expected lifespan of 20-year bonds. And I will say the Senate also allocated $5 million of that $50 million authorization for home park improvements and infrastructure grants. So for a total change items in our budget window of $1 million of debt service from the general fund in FY 2029, and that's the total impact of the Senate position. Thank you.
That concludes our walkthrough, and with that, we will go to testimony. And for our testifiers, we are hoping to stick to about a 2-minute time limit for testimony, because we have a lot of folks on the list we want to get through. And with that, we'll go to our first testifier, Commissioner Jennifer Ho. Welcome to the committee, Commissioner.
Chair Howard, Chair Port, Chair Igo, members of the committee and staff. I want to compliment staff for their walkthrough of that bill. My name is Jennifer Ho. I am the Commissioner of Minnesota Housing. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with you today. Before I get into the contents of the bill before us, I want to thank each of you for your dedication to the work of solving housing for Minnesotans. The course of business in a normal session is harrowing enough. If we take a moment to reflect, since we were together in conference committee last year, this time has been anything but normal. We see the weight you've all had to carry and the humanity it has revealed. Your ability to go about your work with courage means so much to me. We're glad for the areas of overlap in the bills. Housing infrastructure bonds will allow us to say yes to more projects of all types throughout the state. We're hopeful we can continue the bipartisan commitment to the Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program. It seems like we can get there even if a target doesn't emerge, which would be remarkable. The lived experience earnings exemption will allow our first group of community reviewers to shape our programs and processes without concerns they'll jeopardize the assistance that keeps them stable, which also reminds us to consider the jeopardy our homeless and housing service providers are in today. While the provisions in the bill related to interest earnings remain concerning, our conversations recently have helped us understand more about the intent and what's needed by all parties to get a bill passed and signed. It's clear we all agree that the past few weeks have been transformative. We also agree the work before us is to prepare for an increasingly uncertain future. Though it is certain that more will be asked of the agency and of our partners. My hope and my belief is that we choose a path that meets urgent community needs and leaves us prepared for what's ahead. And with that, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we have Daryl Dannon, Executive Director for Greater Minnesota Partnership. And for all of our testifiers, I'll just make a note, please state your name for the record before you begin your testimony. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Members, chairs, conferees, my name is Daryl Dannon, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Greater Minnesota Partnership. That's an advocacy organization of almost 100 organizations, including businesses, nonprofits, economic development associations, and HRAs. We're all united to advance state policies and funding to foster economic growth across Greater Minnesota. So I'm testifying today to provide feedback to the conferees, to you all. I appreciate the House bill has made some additional investments in the Workforce Housing Development Grant Program. This is a critical program in Greater Minnesota. The cost to construct a unit of housing is more expensive than our communities can support in rent or mortgages, and this program helps to close those gaps. We had multiple employers in Greater Minnesota like Cirrus, DigiKey, and others testify to both of your committees this year and in prior years about they've had staff turn down job offers because there was no appropriate housing available, and these funds will help communities construct that necessary housing, so thank you. I also wanted to thank the Senate for including updates to the state housing tax credit in their bill on both pages R10 and R22. I will note, however, that we would support amending the geographic distribution language on page R10 to instead follow the language from Chair Igo's bill, which is currently in the tax committee. So that would be our feedback. And then also to follow that 60-day time window that's also included in that bill. Finally, I wanted to thank the Senate for including policy language that tweaks the Greater Minnesota Housing Infrastructure Grant Program. That's at lines 19.25 to 20.4. That language will help the program better align with the Workforce Housing Development Grant Program. Our communities are working diligently to support and attract development of additional housing, and I look forward to working with all of you to continue to further that work. Thank you. And I do believe that my colleague from the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities wanted me to also convey their thanks for all the investments in Greater Minnesota that's in the bill. So thank you, conferees.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Dahl, and on deck, Kelly Law. Welcome to the committee.
Chairs Howard and Igo and members of the conference committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify on the Housing Omnibus Bill. My name is Michael Dahl, and I am the, and thank you, Chair Port. My name is Michael Dahl, and I'm the Public Policy Director at Homeline, a statewide tenant advocacy organization. Among other services, we offer free and confidential legal advice in English, Somali, Hmong, and Spanish. I'm here to speak about the importance of including statewide tenant hotline services in this legislation. Tenant hotline services are a vital part of Minnesota's housing continuum. By helping renters remain stably housed, these services reduce the need for more costly homeless emergency response interventions. Unfortunately, the need for our services has grown dramatically in recent years. In 2018, Homeline served 13,241 households. By 2025, that number had grown to over 20,000 households. Yet, our MHFA contract has consistently funded only a small portion of renters who rely on our hotline. In 2025, the contract only supported services for 3,528 of the 20,241 households that contacted us, covering only 17.4% of the need. The hotline is used daily by renters facing urgent situations, as I've said before, eviction filings they don't understand, loss of heat, lockouts, or demands that they leave their homes within days. For many renters, the hotline is their only point of entry into the legal system. Without this service, thousands of Minnesotans would be left to navigate complex housing laws alone, under immediate deadlines and with some serious consequences. If additional funding becomes available, Homeline would seek $1 million to expand legal staffing, to improve response times, and to ensure that renters can reach an advocate when it matters most. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next is Kelly Law, Senior Policy and Field Building Manager for Minnesota Consortium of Community Developers, and on deck, Mark Foster.
Chairs Howard, Igo, and Port, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Kelly Law, and I'm a Senior Policy and Field Building Manager with the Minnesota Consortium of Community Developers. We represent nonprofit affordable housing developers and operators working across the state, providing both rental and homeownership opportunities to thousands of households. As you consider the final housing omnibus bill, I want to highlight a few key investments. The authorization of $100 million in housing infrastructure bonds is essential to addressing Minnesota's affordable housing needs. These bonds are our state's most effective tool for creating and preserving affordable housing and helping to reduce the significant shortage of affordable homes across our communities. This investment will expand housing opportunities statewide, particularly in areas experiencing the greatest need for affordable and available homes. To date, HIBs have been used to support the development of more than 10,000 homes, and I deeply appreciate the committee's continued commitment to this vital resource. We are also grateful for the continued support of proven programs like the Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program and the Workforce Housing Development Program. Both of these programs help ensure that Minnesotans can pay their rent and find an affordable place to live, while also supporting housing providers and maintaining the stability of our rental housing system. While not included in either of these bills, we ask for your continued attention and support of funding for supportive services. We know that people are more likely to remain stably housed when they can receive critically needed supportive services where they live, and we ask that you consider how we can better ensure that investments in development are paired with adequate services funding, especially in the wake of changes to federal and continuum of care funding. Again, I really appreciate all of the work that you have been doing all session, and thank you for bringing this important bill forward.
Thank you. Next, we have Mark Foster, Vice President of Legislative Affairs for Housing First Minnesota. And up next, virtually, is Cecil Smith. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Chair Howard, Chair Igo, and Chair Port, and members of the conference committee. For the record, my name is Mark Foster, and I am the Vice President of Legislative Affairs for Housing First Minnesota. By way of background, Housing First Minnesota is a trade group representing nearly 1,000 members of the home building industry, all working toward one goal: advancing home ownership opportunities for all Minnesotans. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony this afternoon. We also want to sincerely thank you for your leadership and your support of the Minnesota Starter Home Act throughout this session. Your recognition of the need to expand access to home ownership opportunities is important, and it has not gone unnoticed. We also want to acknowledge the significant work that has gone into crafting the broader housing omnibus bill before you. There are meaningful investments and policy provisions included that will help address Minnesota's housing challenges, and we appreciate the committee's commitment to advancing solutions this session. That is why we must share our disappointment that the Minnesota Starter Homes Act is not included in either version of the housing omnibus bill. At a time when housing affordability remains one of the most urgent challenges facing our state, its omission is a significant missed opportunity. Within the last week, the legislature took decisive action to preempt local governments on housing policy within the HOA omnibus bill, Senator Lucero's 1750. Opponents warned of dire consequences, and yet the next day the sun came up. Minnesota kept moving forward. That vote proved something important. The legislature can act boldly on housing policy, even when it means stepping in where local barriers have prevented progress. That was just one step, and without measures like the Minnesota Starter Homes Act, it is not enough. Starter homes have all but disappeared in many parts of Minnesota. First-time buyers, young families, and workforce households are being priced out, not because the demand isn't there, but because we have made it too difficult to build the kinds of homes they can afford. The Minnesota Starter Homes Act directly addresses this problem. It would allow smaller, more attainable homes to be built again, reduce unnecessary barriers, and open the door to home ownership for more Minnesotans without sacrificing quality or community integrity. We urge you to build on the momentum the legislature demonstrated just this week. Continue taking the steps necessary to restore starter homes in Minnesota. One vote alone will not solve this problem, but it showed that progress is possible. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next up is Cecil Smith, President and CEO of Minnesota Multi-Housing Association, and on deck is Courtney Schaaf, Policy Manager with MHP. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Chair Howard, and to the chairs and members of the committee. My name is Cecil Smith. I'm President and CEO of the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association, known as MHA. We're an industry nonprofit representing over 2,200 members, providing homes to over 600,000 Minnesotans, more than 300,000 housing units. I'm here today to respectfully raise MHA's opposition to specific Senate provisions in House File 1141. First, thank you for all your work and efforts this legislative session, and we deeply appreciate your public service. Housing economists are only occasionally united in their opinion, but when it comes to rent control, they are. The vast majority of economists, including Paul Krugman, raise red flags about rent control. One simple reason: it doesn't work. The unintended consequences outweigh the perceived benefits. Today, the country looks to St. Paul as an example of the negative consequences of rent control. While this proposal in 1141 is narrowly focused to specific housing types, it will eventually mean broader avoidance and divestment. Section 10, in particular, imposes rent control on manufactured housing, and Section 23 imposes rent control on senior light-tech housing. MHA is strongly opposed to all forms of rent control. We urge the committee to remove these sections from the conference committee report. Given the demographics of our state, Minnesota needs substantially more housing in the coming years. These provisions undermine that goal. Thank you for the opportunity. Bye.
Thank you. Up next is Courtney Schaaf, Policy Manager with Minnesota Housing Partnership, and on deck is Renee Rock, testifying virtually. Welcome to the committee.
Chair Howard, Chair Port, Chair Igo, members of the committee, my name is Courtney Schaaf. I serve as Policy Manager for the Minnesota Housing Partnership. MHP derives innovative housing solutions through original research, expert community development support, and advocacy for the policies that ensure everyone has a place to call home. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on House File 1141, starting specifically with the provisions related to the state housing tax credit. In a few short years, this program has become tremendously successful. And this year in February, the program oversubscribed in just one day. Of the designated contributions, 59% were for projects in Greater Minnesota, yet only 17% of the total dollars went to projects in Greater Minnesota. The changes in the Senate version, sections 1 and 2, beginning on R10, establish in law a common practice to ensure geographic balance and program benefits between Greater Minnesota and the 7-county metro. Rather than the 50-50 split, we recommend a geographic set-aside proportionate to Greater Minnesota's share of the population as the fairest and the most responsive to potential changes over time. In addition, we recommend adjusting the time when remaining credits are made available to 60 days after the program application opens. Thank you to Chair Igo for authoring the originating bill, which does include those recommendations. I would also like to express support for the inclusion of the $40 million for the FHPAP program and to thank the chairs for their consistent commitment to this proven program over the years. Thank you also for the shared commitment to the housing infrastructure bonds as a necessary tool to build deeply affordable homes. We ask the conference committee to adopt the House's level of funding for HIBs at $100 million. Absent from the bill is funding for permanent supportive housing to help prevent homelessness for some of our most vulnerable residents, and we urge the committee to fund these critical services. Thank you for your consideration and for exemplifying bipartisan collaboration throughout the biennium and for elevating the issue of housing as the foundation of a stable life that every Minnesotan deserves.
Thank you. Next, we have Renee Rock, Lived Experience Consultant with the SHIP Collaborative, and on deck is Emily Stewart.
Hello, Chair Howard, Chair Igo, and Chair Port, and committee members. My name is Renee Rock, and I am a member of the SHIP Collaborative, and I have used the Family Homeless Prevention Assistance Program previously. I am also a current advocate for this program as well. This is a program myself and thousands of households across Minnesota turn to once eligible for emergency assistance funds, when seeking to resolve a negative rent balance or need assistance with a mortgage payment. Common scenario that continuously plays out in communities across the state for households are attempts to find resolution ahead of court dates through initiating contact, with providers and submitting applications, and then find themselves sitting in wait for a response. In spite of these efforts, households are likely not able to speak with providers until the day of housing court, only to learn that there's not enough funding available, and are given numbers to other providers who may still have funds available if households were interested in trying. Now, as a housing advocate, I've learned to equate a provider's lack of response mostly to their lack of funding, which is typically spent within days, the requirements placed upon providers to ensure their dollars span the duration of a biennium directly impacts and limits the number of households they can ultimately serve. This is the reality providers are faced with on a daily basis. Now, while most households utilize FHPAP for rental assistance and utility payments, this program is also designed to be used for a wide range of support activities that assist households in obtaining and maintaining housing stability, such as housing and employment search, referrals, and case management to necessary items such as vital documents and furniture. Any additional funding, such as the $40 million, is greatly needed to continue to help households maintain housing stability across Minnesota, and I want to thank you for your opportunity to testify before you today.
Thank you. Next, we have Emily Stewart, Associate Director with Co-North, and on deck is Tammy Fry. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Howard, Chair Igo, Chair Port, and members of the conference committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Emily Stewart, and I'm the Associate Director at Co-North. I'm here today to ask for continued investment in two programs the legislature specifically created to address the unique preservation challenges facing manufactured home communities. The Manufactured Home Community Redevelopment Program, or MHCR, and the Co-North Loan Fund. These programs are working exactly as intended. Manufactured home communities are one of Minnesota's largest source of naturally occurring affordable home ownership. In many rural communities, they are the last affordable housing option available. The MHCR program addresses one of the biggest threats to these communities, aging infrastructure. It helps repair failing water, sewer, and utility systems that, if left unresolved, can put entire communities at risk of closure or displacement. The demand for MHCR far exceeds the available resources. To date, approximately $43 million have been allocated to the program, while communities across the state have applied for over $85 million in funding. These investments are highly cost-effective. Every $1 million deployed through the MHCR program preserves approximately 40 affordable homes in Minnesota. At the same time, the Co-North Loan Fund is helping residents preserve their communities when they come up for sale. Since the 2023 legislative investment, we have preserved 360 affordable home sites across 7 Minnesota communities, leveraging nearly $5.5 million in additional private sector investment, including participation from local credit unions and lenders that previously would not have financed these transactions. The results are tangible. In one community in Zimbrota, the resident owners only had to increase their rents by $75. If they had gone with traditional financing, it would have been well over $200. Together, these two state tools specifically designed to preserve manufactured housing and deter displacement is the only thing to deter displacement driven by outside speculative investment. These programs are cost-effective, they're targeted, and already deliver results for Minnesota families. We respectfully urge the committee to continue supporting the MHCR program and Co-North Loan Fund. Thank you for your time and partnership.
Thank you. Next, we have Tammy Fry, manufactured homeowner from Blaine International Village, and on deck, Alex Tierney. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Howard, Chair Port, Chair Igo, and committee members. My name is Tammy Fry. I live in manufactured home community in Blaine. I'm testifying in favor of Section 2 through 15 of HF 1141. I joined this fight in 2024 because of the unreasonable rates of our lot rents increasing. I have been knocking doors since December of 2024, along with others. We've knocked on over 10,000 homes, with receiving over 3,500 petition signatures in favor of our Manufactured Housing Bill of Rights, which just this past week included your district, Chair Igo. We spoke to your constituents in 7 manufactured home parks between Hibbing and Grand Rapids, and these problems exist everywhere, even in your district. Urban or rural, doesn't matter. Although rural rents aren't as high as in urban areas, they are feeling the increases as well. Some have increased by 10% or more in the last few years. Until 2020, we had no issues with park owners. We were all owned under private ownership, and most of our lot increases were reasonable at $15 to $20, and some years no increases at all. That's what made it affordable for us, and they made enough money to maintain the parks and still make a profit. Truly, local owners are not the problem. We homeowners are not the problem. Corporate investors are the problem, and lobbyist money is the problem. We wouldn't be sitting here today if we were still under local ownership. I voted Republican, and I can say that I am so disappointed to hear some of the arguments coming from the party that I've been a part of for so many years. Some say if we finally increase at 3%, it will restrict development. There have been no new communities established in over 30 years. I remind you that we own our homes. When their costs go up, so do ours. We pay property taxes, homeowners insurance, mortgages, and some are now paying for water and garbage, which was previously included in our lot rent, and again, gives them more profit. To vote against the Bill of Rights section of this omnibus bill will most definitely cause a larger issue, as these homeowners will lose their equity and their homes and then become part of the state. I myself am for free market, but not at the cost of human beings. This should be a nonpartisan issue, not red, not blue. The only time it becomes partisan is when politicians get involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Alex Tierney, manufactured homeowner, Sandpiper Bend, and on deck, Natasha Adams. Welcome to the committee.
Hi, thank you, committee. My name is Alex Tierney, and I also live in a manufactured home. I live in a locally owned park, Sandpiper Bend, and while my rent isn't exactly cheap, it's still only $595 a month. And while that's a far cry from like $1,000+ a month, it also shows us that you can still have a park run on lower ends. But even still, in my city of Blaine, we've seen 8, 9, and 10% increases in recent years. And this is leading the parks to become unaffordable for many to live in. Section 315 of House File 1141 will include something that could change the future of our manufactured home communities as we know them. And that's the opportunity to purchase. This means that we would have the first right to buy the parks that we live in collectively if the park was ever to go for sale. The rents we pay would go towards our loans to pay for the land and not just feed some greedy out-of-state corporation. In my case, at Sandpiper Bend, it would keep another Wall Street investor out of it and out of the city, out of the state. We can make decisions together. We can take care of our infrastructure, choose what best services we need and the utilities while setting a fair lot rent that makes the price reflective of what it costs to operate the park. That would change my life a lot for the better. This is what I want. I want Section 315 of the Omnibus bill to pass because I want to stay in my home. I don't want to see any more of my neighbors or people in my city have to move out. We deserve that as a minimum, not just to return to the old norms, but to expand them and to treat every member of our community with dignity, where we cannot just live together, but thrive together, not only in my park, but in every park in Minnesota. So I'll ask you to champion your fellow Minnesotans today, or will you choose champion greed? It's your choice today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Natasha Adams, manufactured home park owner or manufactured homeowner, Brandondale Estates, and on deck, Mark Bruner. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chairman. As you said, my name is Natasha Adams. Private equity ownership of Brandondale, the manufactured home park in which I live, is a disaster that I cannot escape. Haven Park raised lot rents 14% their first year of ownership, and double-digit percent increases came every year thereafter. Let's do a little math with the rule of 72. With 14% yearly increases, it takes only 5 years for a cost to double. Just 5 years. Show of hands, homeowners, who here could hold on to your home if your mortgage payment doubled every 5 years? Let the record show I see no hands. Nobody. I can sell my house. I can't sell my house because any buyer would have to pay lot rent significantly higher than the park down the street. That is why lenders consistently refuse loans to our potential buyers. Oh, you know what? I'll just move my house. You know where I can bring my house? Nowhere. Nowhere. This is not a free market. Supply and demand are not dynamics at play here. This is economic captivity and legalized theft. To call this bill rent control is nothing more than a way to spin the narrative in favor of the forces that are slowly but inevitably stripping manufactured homeowners of their largest asset, their homes. When I can no longer pay rent for the dirt my house sits on, and I get evicted from my fully paid for home, Minnesota law hands over the title of ownership to the park owner. 40 Brandondale families have lost their homes since Haven Park bought our park. I'm so sick of the arguments against our manufactured home residence bill of rights that only mention park owners' property rights. What about the homeowners? On behalf of the 3% of Minnesotans who live in manufactured housing, please adopt section 3 through 15 of the Housing Omnibus Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mark Bruner, President of Manufactured and Modular Home Association in Minnesota, and on deck, Jeru Gobizi. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, I'm Mark Bruner, representing the Manufactured and Modular Home Association of Minnesota. MMHA speaks for roughly 900 privately owned manufactured home communities in the state, along with 15 plants that build manufactured homes and others modular homes. Thank you for the opportunity to address our concerns regarding some of those that we do have with the bill. It imposes statewide rent control with the 3% cap. MMHA is not aware of skyrocketing rents statewide in manufactured home communities. There certainly are some examples of rent increases that have been a bit unusual. However, this is not something happening statewide. The bill would impose rent control statewide. We saw what happened after St. Paul did that. Capital fled from St. Paul to the suburbs. If you impose rent control statewide, you have nowhere to flee with your capital for upgrades, development of new communities, but to other states in the Midwest, and that would be the result of passing statewide rent control for manufactured home communities. How much does a 3% rent increase generate in revenue for an average community? So a community with 100 home sites, and most communities in Minnesota are 100 home sites or less, 3% rent increase with a rent of $500 equates to about $15 per home, or an additional $18,000 a year for that property owner to address infrastructure upgrades such as roads, sewer, water, those kinds of things. It's simply not doable. The end result would be that they would exit. They would sell, and someone would come in, purchase the property, have to make the upgrades. And this isn't just renting dirt. Manufactured home communities are licensed by the state of Minnesota, Department of Health, Chapter 1460 or 4630. Chapter 327 lays out requirements they have to meet to have a license renewed annually, which does include having to maintain infrastructure and those kinds of things. So there are burdens imposed on them as owners that are not on other types of rental properties. So they're forced to address issues in order to stay in business. And then the issue of, or the point in the bill that if you're a cooperatively owned community, you're not covered by rent control, seems a bit odd. We just passed a HOA sort of Bill of Rights. Cooperatives are run by a board of directors similarly, and it just seems that the that them as communities should also have some protections for their residents, or at least a justification. The bill requires the owner of a manufactured home community to justify a rent increase. I mean, I don't know of anybody, any other business or property type that's required to disclose or justify your increase for your rents or your prices. And yet the only way that it can be resolved if there's a disagreement or a dispute, if somebody says, we don't think you should have increased by 7% for this reason or that reason, is to litigate it. And that results in additional costs for the property owner, which gets passed on to the residents in terms of a rent increase. So that section of the bill needs a lot of work, we believe. Otherwise, we're just going to end up litigating anything above 3% as a rent increase, however justified it might be. Another concern we have is eliminating property rights. The bill repeals an agreement from 2024 that requires a community owner that considers an offer from a buyer to post that information with the Housing Finance Agency, which gets on their website, and they notify every resident in the community that they're considering selling, giving the price range. That was just adopted 2 years ago. It's working. Taking that away and replacing with the right of first refusal, essentially means that someone can't take a first option to purchase from someone on their property. So you're going to lose a significant amount of value. Under current law, if you list your property for sale with a broker or put an advertisement in a newspaper, you're required to notify your residents that you're doing that. There's also a right of first refusal in statute if a property were to close, that the residents have the ability to purchase that property prior to a sale or there being any closure. So there are certainly plenty of protections and opportunities in current statute. And the other point is that if you're really interested in buying a property, why not make an offer and approach the owner and say, we're interested in buying, and there's no reason that they wouldn't consider that. So we have several concerns, Mr. Chair, committee members, with the bill. One final point, and it's a provision that was added, I believe, yesterday on the floor in the Senate, just simply expanding out a notice requirement to 30 days relative to an eviction. And currently the process takes over a month and a half with a 14-day notice. So I get the message, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Drew Gobizi, Advocacy Director for Habitat for Humanity of Minnesota, and on deck, Ben Helvig Anderson. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairs Howard, Igo, and Port, and members of the conference committee for the opportunity to share feedback on the House bill. My name is Drew Gobizi, and I'm the Advocacy Director with Habitat Minnesota. As the committee works together to address the funding needs across the continuum, we support provisions that would invest in our proven pipelines and advance housing policy. Along with housing infrastructure bonds, we are grateful for the housing's inclusion of funding for the HECAP program, which is an essential part of homeownership preparation and stability, ensuring first-time home buyers are well prepared. We urge the committee to also include a critical provision heard in both housing committees that prioritizes geographical balance in the state housing tax credit program. This has quickly become one of the most effective tools to finance affordable housing across Minnesota. While Greater Minnesota drives participation with the majority of contributors, you heard that in 2026, only 17% of the actual funding went to Greater Minnesota. It's just taking more contributors to get to the same amount. And we're seeing that trend continue year after year. Implementing geographic balance will create a fair process for developers and contributors statewide. We're thankful for the geographic balance in the Senate version, and also really appreciate Chair Igo championing this in the House and would support an amendment to insert his version of the bill, as others have shared. The private equity ownership single-family ownership prohibition of really large portfolios, prioritizing homes for individual homeowners is another one. In some markets, first-time homebuyers are competing not only against other families, but with large-scale investors who can make cash offers and acquire properties in bulk. This helps ensure that starter homes remain a pathway to wealth building for working families. Finally, we appreciate your commitment to preserving critical housing resources, and to fully realize that, we also strongly urge the committee to include investments in the workforce and affordable homeownership program. This is a proven pipeline and the only program in Minnesota that specifically focuses on creating new affordable starter homes. Investing in this program, along with the others already included, would ensure these investments would have an impact across the housing ecosystem and support supply creation for affordable homeownership. Thank you to both committees for all of your work this session. We look forward to continued partnership in ensuring these resources produce and preserve homes, and policies help strengthen our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ben Helvig-Anderson, VP of Policy and Organizing with Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative, and on deck, Henry Parker. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Chair Howard, Chair Igo, and Chairs Port, and committee members. Again, my name is Ben Helvig-Anderson, Vice President of Policy and Organizing at Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. Beacon is a developer and operator of supportive housing and a collaborative of congregations united in the vision, all people have a home. On behalf of Beacon, I want to thank you for your hard work this legislative session and the work in this committee. We are grateful that for both bills' inclusion of housing infrastructure bonds and the House's inclusion of the Family Homelessness Prevention and Assistance Program funding. Both are essential, and we support the higher numbers in both of those. We also appreciate that your committee has taken time to listen to and understand the crisis of our statewide homelessness response system faces right now. You know that Minnesota is at a pivotal moment for our families and future generations. We are deeply concerned that neither bill has included funding to respond to this crisis. While we are incredibly grateful for the $9 million emergency bill that you all courageously championed and passed earlier this session, we must be clear, it was a vital first step, but it is not enough. It is a partial fix for a larger systemic crisis. Programs across the state serving the most vulnerable Minnesotans face tremendous funding uncertainty this year, and there have been no federal contract payments for contracts this year. It is almost certain that federal funding will not be there next year. Beacon, like other supportive housing providers across the state, has contracts expiring in the coming months and residents who depend on the stability and services we provide. Some providers have already had their contracts expire. We value our partnership with you all and support the HIBs and FHPAP money that you are moving forward, but want to name a bill that does not address the crisis for supportive housing is a mistake, and hope the final bill will include it. Thank you for your hard work and opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Henry Parker, Vice President of Asset Management with Common Bond, and on deck is Christine Davis. Welcome to the committee.
Good afternoon, co-chairs and members of the conference committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm Henry Parker, Vice President of Asset Management at Common Bond Communities, a nonprofit affordable housing developer and service provider. In Minnesota, we serve nearly 6,000 households across 89 communities in 52 House districts. I want to speak briefly about 4 priorities for us. First, we strongly support the $40 million in FHPAP funding. It's one of Minnesota's most cost-effective tools. Keeping families housed prevents far greater downstream costs to them and the state. Second, on housing infrastructure bonds, we urge you to adopt the House's $100 million rather than the Senate's $50 million. HIBs reach projects that simply cannot be financed with tax credits alone. Owasso Gardens, our 60-unit senior apartment in Roseville, with set-asides for formerly homeless veterans, only exists today because of HIBs. Third, please retain the private activity bond language from Senate File 203. It will allow developers to leverage more federal tax credits with no additional state appropriations, resulting in more units and no additional cost to taxpayers. Finally, we strongly support the governor's $33 million proposal for supportive housing services. This funding would bridge the gap created by HUD's Continuum of Care program, the changes to HUD's Continuum of Care program, which threatens the housing stability of many of our residents. We urge you to find a path for that funding here or in a separate vehicle this session. On behalf of Common Bond and the residents we serve, thank you for your leadership on housing.
Thank you. Next, Christine Davis, Executive Director of Hearth Connection, and on deck is Ann Smedek, Director and Senior Counsel with Housing Justice Center.
Chairs Howard, Igo, Port, and members of the committee. My name is Christine Davis, Executive Director of Hearth Connection. I'm here today on behalf of a coalition of 97 organizations across every region of Minnesota, including housing developers and providers, local governments, health systems, faith communities, philanthropy, and advocates, all asking state leaders with urgency to include funds for supportive housing in House File 1141. Over the past several years, Minnesota made extraordinary progress, reducing homelessness with long-term solutions that expand housing stability. Those gains were possible because this legislature made meaningful bipartisan investments in supportive housing. Today, those gains, those investments, are at serious risk. Supportive housing providers across the state are experiencing funding gaps caused by federal uncertainty and expiring contracts. Just on Tuesday of this week, national groups filed a court notice with concerns about ongoing delays to renew current housing projects as required by law. At the same time, we've now heard very public announcements intending to shift resources away from supportive housing beginning in January, when we face an even greater funding cliff months before the next Minnesota legislature has an opportunity to respond. Without action this session, thousands of Minnesotans, families, veterans, seniors, youth, people living with disabilities, face housing displacement or homelessness. Without action this session, communities across the state face increased pressure on emergency response, healthcare, and public safety resources. This is a critical moment. Minnesota built a strong homeless response system and thousands of units of supportive housing that proved good outcomes for people and government. We can't afford to lose ground now. We must sustain these gains. That is why we urge you to secure additional investment in supportive housing this session before you adjourn. Thank you for your leadership and continuing commitment to housing stability for Minnesotans at risk.
Thank you. Next is Ann Smedek, Director and Senior Counsel with Housing Justice Center. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Chair Howard, Chair Igo, and Chair Port, and members of the committee. Again, my name is Ann Smedek. I'm a Director and Senior Counsel with the Housing Justice Center, and thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm before you today to ask this committee to include funds for supportive housing in the Omnibus Housing Bill. As you've heard, the Continuum of Care system, which provides a crucial network of supportive housing for Minnesota's most vulnerable residents, has been battered by federal funding volatility for nearly a year, and another wave is coming. The Continuum of Care program traditionally provided a stable source of federal funding for these crucial supportive housing properties. Last year, the federal government announced sweeping changes to the program, which seriously threatened the continued viability of this crucial support resource. Multiple federal lawsuits are pending, and both the federal courts and Congress had to act to force HUD to move forward at all towards any type of renewals for the fiscal year 25 federal contracts. We're finally starting to see a slow trickle of fiscal year 25 grant agreements, but still no payments, and we're watching next steps very carefully. This is a positive step, but we're heading into yet another wave of volatility as the fiscal year 26 federal funding notice will be issued by June 1st. HUD has given every indication publicly that it will again seek to fundamentally change the program and to impose yet a new set of requirements on providers. Litigation is expected, and providers will again be in limbo for yet another funding cycle. I ask the legislature to act to include additional funds to support this system through the current and coming volatility so these properties survive and continue serving Minnesotans most in need. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. That concludes our public testimony, and I want to thank all our folks that came here to testify today. And with that, we'll go to member discussion. Senator Port.
Thank you, Chair Howard. Welcome to my House colleagues to our Housing Committee room.
It's real
Chair
nice.
Igo, I think this is as casual as anyone's ever been dressed at this table, and I like the change. You know, I think where I want to start is that we all are really excited about the opportunity for good that we can do for housing this year. I'm really grateful for the partnership of Chair Igo and Chair Howard, and I think I can safely say for all three of us that we are in very close alignment on the resources presented between our bills, or really to be more precise, the amount of resources in the House bill, because the Senate has passed some of those resources individually, and so we think the full amount is really what's needed in the housing community. I think we might have some differences on where exactly we think that money should be invested, and that is really why we wanted to have a public hearing today, so that we could hear from all of you again on what priorities across Minnesota are, what priorities in your communities are. We still have to have discussions about various policy pieces, and I know Senator Bolden will talk about her two provisions in this bill, the ban on large investors buying up single-family homes, and the Manufactured Housing Bill of Rights. I do want to thank all the advocates and people who have come in today and all year to share your stories, because I think it's so clear to us that housing is in a crisis point. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about affordability up at the Capitol this year. And I just think we can't have any real conversation about affordability if we're not talking about housing. Too many Minnesotans are paying not just 30% of their income, but 50%, 60%, 70% of their income. And that number is growing. It's more and more Minnesotans that are paying a higher portion of their income, and that is unsustainable. I think we are all in agreement that we need to make as many choices as we can to help bring those costs down, to invest in housing across our state, all kinds of housing. I really appreciate the work of the folks in the supportive housing area this year. There's been so much volatility at the federal level that has put just dollars that we have been able to count on in the past at risk, and we can't ignore that. I also think investments as well as policy changes for the manufactured housing community is just really vital. Those parks need assistance, both in infrastructure costs, in the ability to make an offer as a co-op and be able to get a loan for that, and, you know, for protection against these really out of control private investors that are coming in and just stripping the wealth from our parks. So again, really so much thank you to the public and to the advocates, because I think if anyone would have told us at the beginning of this year, coming into a closely divided legislature in an election year with not a lot of budget room, the likelihood of housing being on the verge of being able to pass $40 million in rental assistance, $20 million or just over $20 million in other resources, and $100 million in HIBs, I think people would have laughed at us if we would have brought that to the table. And it is because of the work of you all and our ability, I think, to work together and center our communities rather than partisanship has put us in this position. So thank you so much for your advocacy, and we will continue to hear your voices as we continue negotiations and discussions. Thank you, Chair.
Senator Bolden, I guess we'll defer to the Senate since we're in your house, so. Senator Bolden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do just want to say a couple of words about the policy provisions that are in this bill. And I am really grateful for the work of both of our housing committees over this session. We are at a crisis point, and it is the right thing for us to be making these investments. And so I am really proud of the work that we have done and the work that we will do in the next week to support people and their housing needs. In particular, I want to speak to the policy around the ban on private equity purchasing, large private equity entities purchasing and owning more than 100 homes. You know, homeownership is out of reach for too many Minnesotans. And these large private equity companies coming in and sometimes purchasing large swaths of homes pushes that even further out of reach. It makes it difficult, if not impossible, for people in those communities to purchase those homes as these companies come in and, you know, oftentimes offer an all-cash offer at far over asking and waiving the inspections, and people, regular Minnesotans, have no chance to compete with that. And so this bill that I have been working on for years at this point it has looked different every session. It is narrower this session than it has been in the past, and we have garnered bipartisan support with that. And there are some actions at the federal level happening with that as well. And so I am committed to that work. It is critically important and want to continue pushing that forward. And then to the issue of manufactured homes, I want to say a giant thank you to those of you homeowners who are here today and showed, told your stories today. And, you have been here all session and previous. And so thank you for continuing to show up. Thank you for continuing to tell us your experiences. I thank you for all of the thousands of doors that you have knocked on and will continue to do. This work is because of you. The reason that we were able to pass this off the Senate floor this session was because of you. And I want to just respond briefly to some of the comments that we heard from another testifier. To say that the egregious increases in lot rents that's sort of maybe a small issue or not happening all over the state is just not true. It is absolutely happening all over the state. As we heard today, and as I hear often, this is impacting people all over the state. It is egregious, it is continuing, it is increasing, and it is it is pushing people out of their homes. And as just a reminder, these are generally people who own their homes. They're renting the dirt underneath it. And again, the idea that there's, investments going into amenities and updates, many times that is also not happening. And so in putting some parameters in place, which is not, rent control like we think in the normal sense. It really is apples to oranges, as was said. You can't just pick up and move. This is people's homes that they own. And we know that this is possible because it is happening in cooperatives. And, in a handful, a dozen plus across the state where they are homeowner-owned cooperatives, they are able to keep that lot rent down to about 3% a year, if not lower. And so we know that it is possible because it is happening. And the reason that the cooperatives are carved out in the bill is because those are run by the owners. They are the ones who are deciding. And I just also want to be clear that there is an exemption for health and safety. So if there is a need for, an upgrade of roads or, sewer or these types of things, that's fine. That's allowed. And the last thing I'll just mention to just clear up about the opportunity to purchase, there was an agreement that was passed into law in 2024. It is important to note that homeowners were not included in that agreement. They did not agree to that. Also, it is not working. We know it is not working. Since that time, there have been 42 sales of manufactured home parks. Of those 42, only 8 of them followed this notice of sale. And of those 8, 7 of them were already under contract. So we know it is not working. There is no mechanism for enforcement. And so we also know that this is possible. 7 other states are doing this. And so I just want to say, again, thank you to the homeowners who are pushing this work forward. It is you who we should be centering, your experiences, your lived experiences, and making sure that everyone is able to afford their home. There is a balance to be struck here to be sure that we are, balancing both the, the rights and responsibilities of park owners and the rights of home owners. And I'm committed to that work, and we'll keep working on that. So thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Representative Kozlowski.
Great. Thank you so much, Chair Howard, and to Chair Port and Chair Igo. And it feels great to be over here in the Senate, getting a little detour from the House today. And most importantly, it feels really good to be here with the bill in front of us. I know that has been talked about, and we've heard from many of our testifiers that there are more tweaks that need to be made and more work to be done. And we'll continue to work through that. But I just wanted to uplift a few things in here that, as we're talking about, the cost of housing skyrocketing, gas, groceries, all of that, there's living paycheck to paycheck, but there's also when you can't make your paycheck work for the rest of the month, and just the strain and the stress and anxiety, and just acknowledging that coming through with the testifiers who came before us today. And that we're all here to put our hands together to solve it. And one of the things that, I'm so proud of in this bill is the ability to be able to support both renters and homeowners and folks who are unhoused. And especially with the FHPAP dollars, which are really our bread and butter and some of our most effective tools. And so huge thank you to, FHPAP providers, to MHFA, and really to folks like Renee Rock, who talked about the real impact of being the number behind the budget spreadsheets before us. That there's real people, seniors, kids escaping displacement and domestic violence that families are enduring. And one medical bill, one car repair away from housing instability. And so these dollars are just absolutely foundational. And I want to thank the committee and the legislature for, especially since the time that I've been in the legislature, the past 4 years, these were only funded, around $10 million, and the work and the investment that we put in to really boost those and bolster to make sure that they're available across the state into our tribal nations. Also just thanks for the HECAT funding that, as we heard, the dream of home ownership is slipping away. Especially I look at our young people who've been coming to the Capitol and out in the community, and what a rough deal to be told, go to school, go into the trades, go and be a firefighter, a teacher, or a nurse, and then find out you might not be able to get your first home until into your 40s. And even off of those careers that are supposed to be, really good, strong paying, family sustaining, find out you might not even be able to afford rent in your community. And so just before us here, I also want to acknowledge the funding cycle limbo of really being in a position where we are being chokeholded by our own federal government. I came to the legislature because we're on a mission to not only prevent homelessness, but really to root it out. And we'll never be able to solve our workforce challenges until we solve our housing challenges. And people are poor because they don't have the wages and the money in their pocket, and people are homeless because we don't have homes to be able to rent and own and build off your dreams. And so really the work at hand, we need to do that. I wanted to just also really quick, I heard our manufactured housing folks before us, and it's something that I know Senator Bolden, you've been really a champion on, as well as Representative Norris in the House. It's an area that we have more manufactured housing just outside of my district, but just wanted to note that recently there is one, and I know them personally. I work with the owners. I've served on boards. I worked in higher education with them. They do really good work, but with the notice of sale, how can anybody ever stand a chance to own their own park when you sell it to a private equity firm for $44 million? And leave behind everybody else with the liquidation that is going to come before us. I come from a community where we just had a very large, wealthy family buy up about 20 of our single-family homes, and so the private equity is something that we need to continue to tackle. And I know Representative Esther Agbaje on the House side has been doing that to make sure that we're keeping homes in the hands of Minnesotans and not liquidating those off to the highest bidder. The last thing I just wanted to say, there's so much to be said and more work to be done here, but when I came into the legislature, my mom had died in the streets of homelessness. And last week was actually, as many of our colleagues here know, not 2 years ago, my brother Stephen passed away from homelessness in the streets. And so just the most urgent work that we can do, more funding to be able to make sure that we're preventing the horrors of what happens when people fall in and fall into homelessness is really why I want to put the emphasis on here. And I really thank your leadership and the work of the folks in this room and watching online and who are going to have your fingerprints all over this bill and this funding before it comes back to us for final passage.
Representative Igo.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for those being here today to testify. Thank you to this whole conference committee of staff that make this possible for us to do this. On the Senate conversation, and now I know why the sergeants were looking at me funny when I was walking up here. So I won't try any more other funny business. I won't put my feet on the desk or anything. You know, us House members and a Ranger at that, we're kind of tough sometimes. You know, I think when I think about the process of what got us here, maybe there needs to be a new rule set that chairs, especially bipartisan chairs that we are, need to all carry a bill outside of a budget and policy bill. And the reason I bring that up is because us three, Senator Port, Representative Howard, working on other issues together, not only we found solutions that we agree on, but we've learned a lot about each other and where our backgrounds led us and what we think on issues. And that's why we can come to a conference committee like this with a lot of mutual understanding of where we need to go to make sure that we can get the right things done for all Minnesotans. And I think, you know, that process took 2 years to get us to this point, but we've learned a lot about where we view housing, where we view priorities for this state, and how we can find that common ground for collaboration. Looking at our bill that we left the House with, you know, there's some things that we are all going to be working together to retain. One of the things I was most proud of in our bill that Representative Howard and I passed together is that it's estimated to build 2,200 units of housing. And it's going to build 2,200 units of housing all across the state of Minnesota, and it's going to do it in multiple ways. And I think that's something that we kind of share common ground on, that there is a crisis that we're 100,000 housing units short. That's why one of the testifiers talked about how all three of us carry a bill called the Starter Home Act, because we are working on making sure we can open up that opportunity for every single Minnesotan across the state. The committee, when I was running it, and Representative Howard and I shared this too, but I focused around 3 different pillars, and I know some of you have heard me talk about it a lot, but the first being affordability. Now, we are trying to do things in this housing bill to work on affordability, but a lot of the things that pertain to housing affordability are reflected in some of the policy that we see happen outside of the Housing Committee, right? Minnesota is one of the highest tax states in the nation. Our energy prices are rising rapidly compared to other states. The cost of living and doing business in the state of Minnesota is high. So every opportunity I come and have that I can talk about it, I say it's important that when we talk housing, we talk about those other things. Because if your natural gas bill is rising, if your electric bill is rising, those are all contributing to what you have to be able to afford a home. And it's imperative that members of this conference committee, but also members of the public and those who are here testifying, that we bring the same tenacity that we have for housing production and housing stability, and we bring it to other aspects of this legislative process. Because it's paramount that we get things under control now for the future stability of all Minnesotans. The other really important aspect of the bills is that it's focusing a lot on diversity in housing. And again, I mentioned those 2,200 units. We're going to see investment in everything from single-family homes to workforce housing to multifamily homes to manufactured housing. We're going to see it happen in all different spaces. And why that's so critically important is because when you combine that diversity in housing, you create the affordability that all Minnesotans need. And the biggest goal that we all share united is creating stability for every single Minnesotan and every single Minnesotan family. And the bill that we're working on and collaborating on is going to take a bite out of the apple and move us on that way. And I think we will be getting somewhere. And again, we're close on a lot of things, and we're going to continue to work, but the testimony today and the advocacy today helps us to be able to navigate that process even more. So I appreciate the public's engagement and look forward to working with my fellow conferees to work on closing the gap on a bill. And one of the final things I want to mention that all 3 chairs we've come to terms with is working on that oversight and transparency aspect of the bill. And I think that's a huge step forward for state government as a whole, that we want to create systems that not only just us as legislators, but the public can understand that when we're utilizing taxpayer dollars to create good in our communities, which is what we're doing in these bills, making sure that we can all be a part of that process to see how they're being implemented, when they're being implemented, and we can work collaboratively with our state agencies that are utilizing taxpayer dollars is a critical component to our job, and all of the members up here rose our hands and gave an oath of office to protect. So I think that's a really strong provision in our bill that I look forward to working on together with the legislators on this conference committee, but also with our agencies to make sure we can find a good place that this is going to work for our state agencies, but also for the legislators and public in this room. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I would echo a lot of the gratitude for the folks that have been here testifying, but really part of a 2-year conversation here at the legislature about how do we address what is, for most Minnesotans, their #1 expense, the cost of their home, and a cost that continues to go up. And, you know, I think a lot of us this session, I know I have felt this immense weight and pressure, because we know just how significant and severe those housing challenges are getting all across the state. The squeeze that is happening to renters and homeowners alike is something that we need to be ready to respond to in an urgent way at the legislature. And what I'm immensely grateful for is that we found in a bipartisan way to really be clear that that is a problem that we must address, and that our housing shortage is a key, if not the very key, root of the challenge that is making housing more unaffordable. And what is also incredible is to be at this table, I think, on the precipice of passing a really great bill that will make a difference for thousands of Minnesotans. And to underscore where the folks up here have alignment, I think it's already been said, but I think it bears repeating, alignment on $100 million in housing infrastructures bonds, alignment on $40 million for family homelessness assistance and prevention, alignment on $25 million to help us build homes and address the housing needs in our state, and to do those investments in a way that is cost neutral. Alignment on the policy objective that the co-chair Igo mentioned about accountability and transparency. We certainly have more work to do, but we come here in a great spot already with agreements on things that we know will make a huge difference if we take that next step and get them across the finish line. And so we have more work to do together, and more work to do with you this session, but we plan to work quickly and with the urgency that I think Minnesotans are demanding of us. This is not a red or blue issue for Minnesotans across the state. They want to see and have stability and affordability in their homes. Every Minnesotan deserves that, and that's the work that I think we're all committed to over the next days here in the legislature. And so with that, we are adjourned.